Welcome to episode 6 of WealthTalk. I'm Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and joined by the founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. How are you today?
Hi, Chris. I'm great. Looking forward to this episode.
I am too. We're going to talk about wealth dynamics today.
Wealth dynamics. What
is wealth dynamics, Kevin?
Well, whenever you're trying to build wealth, it's really important to recognize that wealth is a flow. It represents a flow of value. You're always having to create value, and money flows to value. But before really focusing on the flow of value, you need to understand your own personal flow, Chris. And that's where the tool, Wealth Dynamics, comes in. So you've got a few things to say about that because you're a bit of an expert in that too.
Well, we're both flow consultants, actually. We understand the topic of this self-assessment tool, really. It's an online tool, and it was created by Roger Hamilton, founder of the Entrepreneurs Institute. And I first came across this myself probably about 3-4 years ago.
Right.
And took the online assessment, and it tells you really what your natural entrepreneurial flow is. So,
or value flow, really, because you could take... I know sometimes people refer to it as a test, but it's not a pass or fail. It's more just gives you an output, doesn't it?
That's right.
Which you could use whether you're in a job or in business, trying to be the best entrepreneur you can be. Is that right?
So I like to refer to it as your entrepreneurial compass, because I really feel that when you understand which of the 4 genius types that you are, and we'll cover that in a moment, it points you in the right direction. And that direction is really where you should focus your time, because that's what you're best at. And we all have a natural genius within us. And Roger has based this upon ancient Chinese and Greek philosophies, which go back over 5,000 years. So it's not just something made up. There's some real substance here.
Okay.
And all of those civilizations agreed that there are these 4 geniuses. And when you take Wealth Dynamics assessment, it will give you an output. And maybe we can run through those 4 different areas of entrepreneur flow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds to me like if a tool that can take only a few minutes to really give you a laser sharp pinpoint focus on where your value is best delivered, who wouldn't do it? I've done it myself, and it's interesting that our dynamics are very different, Chris.
And very complementary as well.
Well, which is why we work so well together, right? Mm. So, that's great. So shall I start off with where the compass points are?
Why not?
Yeah, because I'm at the top of the compass, right? So we talk about energies when we're looking at that. So if you imagine there's a square, and like the circle of life, I suppose, I'm mixing up my analogies there, but you've got, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. You've got the beginning of something in a business, and then you've got the orchestration of teams, and then you've got the delivering of the service, and then you've got the financial measuring. That's a kind of feeling that I have as a business owner about all of this. But every business starts with the creation of an idea. So the first energy is that energy of dynamo, the dynamic piece of work that says, what is the problem? What is the solution? How am I bringing great value to a customer, a client, anything in life? And how do I then create a flow of revenue that directly links back to the value? So it's ethical. It always comes from a place of integrity because the flow follows the value. And the blaze genius, the genius who creates those ideas, is largely head in the clouds, thinks big picture, is always doing that kind of work. And that's the very work that gives me so much juice and creativity. I just love it. So that's the
Dynamo Genius.
That's the Dynamo Genius. Yes. Did I say Blaze?
You said Blaze, which is the second one. So let me take over and explain there. So we'll put a graphic in the show notes. So if you want to actually have a look, and this hopefully will come to life a little bit more, then just click on the show notes right now. So if we're moving around this square in a clockwise fashion, then on the right-hand side, you've got the Blaze Genius type. So after the initial concept, the proof with the Dynamo Genius then you really need to start building your team.
Right.
And this is where the Blaze Genius people come in, because they're connected. They love networking. Right. They just love being out there speaking to people.
Right.
And they're often really good brand ambassadors. So maybe not the ones that actually come up with that initial idea, but they're the ones that you need to go and tell the world about it.
Yeah, I see your point. So whereas, some people I know will have 50 ideas before breakfast, the Blaze Energy people will be more likely to put some of those things in place, whether that's speaking about them one-to-many, delivering the solution in terms of a team, or really focusing on one-to-one. There's a real energy around being focused around people and that level of connectedness, and that's really important. And particularly WealthBuilders is a lot about that combination of creativity and connectivity, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. It sure is.
Yeah.
So then the third genius type, we're now at the bottom. So the complete opposite, one could say, of the Dynamo Genius at the top.
Opposite to me then.
Who are head in the clouds, who are just, gunning for it, coming up with a million ideas, as you said before breakfast. You've got the Tempo Genius at the bottom. And that's where I am.
Right.
Which is why we complement each other well, because whilst you're coming up with all the new ideas, I'm perhaps grabbing onto your feet, trying to pull you back down and say, let's just slow things down a bit. Because it's all about timing.
I get that a lot, yeah.
Let's do one thing at a time.
I think people can recognize that we're having fun, but also maybe recognize something in themselves too, that, think about it from a business perspective and an employee perspective. So if I was an employee, well, I'd make a terrible employee because I don't like following rules. But the employee or the business owner is coming up with the creativity, but doesn't have that right balance of the Blaze people energy and the Tempo grounded energy, getting things done. They simply would run out of steam, wouldn't they? Because they wouldn't have
Nothing would get finished.
They wouldn't get finished. So they're constantly tripping over themselves, promising to deliver and not delivering. And I guess if we look around, we know businesses like that, where they've got great intention, great ideas, but just simply poor execution because they don't put enough time into the process of delivering the service, because they kind of shipping it, doing it, again, E-myth, doing it, busy. And that's definitely something that you've helped me, and having a team around me helps me feel that somebody else is grounded in delivering the service as opposed to me doing it because it's not my natural genius.
Yeah, and that comes naturally to a Tempo Genius is the balance. It's looking at the internal team, making sure everyone's working in harmony, but also then providing service for the customers and making sure that they're delivering on the front end as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then the final and fourth genius type, in fact, it's not the final because there is a fifth.
Yeah.
The fourth one on the left-hand side of the square is the Steel Genius. So Steel,
that's
Kevin,
the winter energy. That's the spreadsheets, so Chris.
Whereas Blaze is all about colour, vibrancy, being out there amongst the people.
Right.
Again, the opposite side is Steel, very black and white, very calculated.
Got to be done.
All about the numbers, detail, systems. Bit more introverted normally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you go to a networking event, you can sometimes spot the Steel.
Right.
Because they're in the corner. They don't really want to talk to too many people.
Well, really, one would argue they probably, shouldn't be there. And they should have somebody in the team who's taking care of all that connection. But,
True.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here is not just applicable for people wanting to start a business. This is really important as well, even if you're in a job. So you can probably look around if you're in an office right now and already from what we've described, perhaps spot a few people who are out of flow. Mm-hmm. So they may be tasked with loads of spreadsheets and loads of detailed jobs, and all they want to do is just talk to people all day long because they're not in the right flow. And the beauty of when you have a team working in flow is that the level of trust increases, the productivity increases, the results increase. Because if I know that I'm going to give you the tasks that you're best at, you're going to get on with them and do the outstanding job.
So you're not getting me to do the spreadsheets, Chris?
Not at all. But I would know who in the team is the best person at delivering that.
That's
and
right.
when you have that, that's when the magic really happens.
Yeah, what I like about spreadsheets is somebody else does them for me and I can just have a look at them because I need to take care of that, but I don't really enjoy the creation of them. But it's fun, isn't it, to think about the idea that you focus on what you're best at. And one of the things that really puzzles me, if you go back to education and school, you're always taught to get better at something, focus on your weaknesses. What a load of rubbish. Why not focus on your strength and then find out who the right person is to help where they're outstanding, where you have a challenge. And then It solves the problem. A, you don't procrastinate. B, you get the thing done. C, you trust them. D, the whole gets bigger than the individual parts. So wealth dynamics is such a crucial part of what we do. And I would definitely commend anybody who hasn't done so to click the link. And if you haven't done the test or the assessment, go do it, because it's a brilliant tool. And we actually, in case you don't know, Chris, we often when we're talking to business owners, we're encouraging them to do the wealth dynamic, or the team equivalent, which is known as talent dynamics, actually, to do the talent dynamics of all the team, to make sure that they do have the right team in the right place, playing to their strengths, not playing to their weaknesses. So everybody's pushing for maximum impact and more enjoyment, which is really partly what it's all about as well. Why be rowing against the tide? Why be running uphill when everything could be flowing just like a river flows? You would naturally want to be in flow and get in flow by doing what you're best at. And I hope people will go and take a look at that and make the assessment and see if they feel actually they are in the right place for them right now.
Well, I find everyone that I've recommended the test to finds it transformational. They really do. So I would highly recommend, we'll put the link to go and take that assessment in the show notes. So please have a look at that. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So leave some comments, let us know. And join, of course, the Facebook community, WealthBuilders. Many of our members in there who you can connect with, and maybe you can say, hey, I'm really low on one of these areas. Anyone else who maybe we can buddy up and create a partnership?
Well, that's really important as well, that you connect with people. You can actually see it in their language. You can see the people who are highly connected and those who are not. So working out who best to team up with, because in the end, wealth should be fun, and that's best done by collaboration wherever that's possible. Even the steel people who perhaps don't enjoy that connectivity as much still need to know where to go to make those connections. For example, if you're a property owner and you've got some great property ideas, you're really outstanding at the spreadsheet, you're brilliant at getting value from the projects, but you've just run out of money, and you need connections to bring more money to the table. Well, maybe you team up with somebody with that blaze energy who would then help make those connections. And then, again, the whole thing will work much more effectively. So whether it's property, whether it's in business, whether it's in a job, wealth dynamics is a key indicator. And I love your point about being the focus and the compass, so you know whether you're pointing yourself in the right direction to make your wealth as easy as possible. Great podcast, Chris. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And you mentioned some of the assets there, and I think that will lead us on quite nicely perhaps to the next episode, where we can start to look at these 7 pillars that we've touched on.
And which ones would be the right combination for you,
correct,
depending on what your wealth dynamic is. Well, why don't we zip over and do that in the next episode?
Sounds good.
Thanks. See you later.